chance to make it 28-3. Arthur Blank loving it. Up by 25. Toss to White. He's in! What a comeback!
All right, welcome back to another episode of the 28-3 podcast. We have full attendance tonight for the first time in a while. Max, Nick, and Corey here with you. The last two episodes, we had some great guests.
Nick.
Garland Gillen. Yeah. Welcome back, sir. But yeah,
good to be back.
Yeah, so last two episodes were guest episodes. So it kind of feels good, guys, to have just the three of us. I'm excited because no one knows what's going to happen when it's just the three of us talking about football and Saints news, and we got a lot of news, I think, since the last time the three of us were together. What's funny is, and I promised him I would drag him on tonight's podcast, but I'm on a group text with my younger brother, Casey, and that's Casey William Mall, and then one of my best friends from high school, that would be Eric Lou Wilderauer. I promised them I would use their full names on this, and they kind of gave us some shit, guys, about not having call it bi-weekly, semi-week, whatever it is. Episodes like, hey, it's the off season. We're going to come at you once a week, but it's just a little way of saying that how dare they for even thinking about criticizing us. But also, as we get into the season, so everybody can know, we'll be coming at you early in the week with the game recap once the regular season starts, and then later in the week, we'll be giving you game previews, and then in between, guests, fun things to talk about like we always get into, maybe another charcuterie board episode, who knows, but just a little drip of that information. So we've had a lot going on in Saints news, now that I'm done dragging the people I promised I would drag. Today, the Saints brought in two visits. We had Kareem Hunt and Anthony Barr. I know you, Max, and you as well, Nick, are big Kareem Hunt truthers, and y'all are excited about this news. So why don't y'all give me exactly your thoughts on him coming in?
Well, let me say this. I wouldn't say I'm a truther. Kareem Hunt, I don't think is the same player that he was when he was, we thought he was going to be the rookie of the year over Kamara. Like, it was neck and neck. And you could have made a case for it to be Kareem Hunt that year. 1,300 plus yards.
Probably should have been. He led the league in rushing.
Probably should have been. Yeah. But let's be honest, he's not that same player anymore. That being said, I'm all about just flooding the offense with as many weapons as possible. Let's just – I can't have a repeat of the previous couple of years. We've talked about the wide receiver position and their deficiencies over the last couple of years. Last year, running backs, we had a broken down Mark Ingram. I love Mark Ingram, but, he was not the same player that he was in years past. Latavius Murray for a couple of weeks was here. Then he moved on to a different team. Past that, we had Benjamin pop in. I don't think he did anything. So Kareem Hunt, he's more of a name than probably how much game he has left in the tank, but he's still – it's a good flyer to take. Now, whether he signs with us or not, that's up for debate, so we'll see.
Sure.
I'm a little more – the biggest issue with his production, I think, has to do with Nick Chubb coming in, and when you have a top 5 guy come in, he's going to lose opportunity. I don't think anything on the field says he's in that big of decline. He had a great year receiving the ball when he first got to Cleveland after, and I think that's what we're looking at is to fill that role for Kamara, especially for the first 3 games, is obviously why they're doing this. And his skill set is not as fluid as Kamara in the passing game, but he's a very good pass catching running back. When he was in Kansas City, I think he had over 50 catches. And then the year of his suspension, which we can talk to Corey about that a little bit more, the pace he was on that year was outrageous. He was on pace for 1,300, 800 or 900 and 22 TDs, something like that.
Yeah.
And he was smashing the league, and then obviously he ran into trouble. So Will Corey have to retract all of his Saints are going with character if they sign him?
Well, I did. Let me just say, I did say draft for character. I didn't say anything about. I didn't say anything about free agency. Shit, we went after Deshaun Watson for crying out loud until someone else decided to be bigger assholes than us. But I mean, which lo and behold was Kareem Hunt's former team. But that said, yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear that, I mean, yeah, given his character issues, which, you know, it's one of those things. I think Ryan from Block Party Podcast tweeted it. Someone retweeted his tweet from or X, whatever they are now, from 2016, and it was like, I'm not going to remember it word for word, but in 2016 he was like, you know, we sign questionable guys, we do X, Y, you know, all the things you think about with the Saints, but it's the team that we have, so we're going to root for them, you know, and so things like bringing in John Gruden, bringing in Kareem Hunt, they have their skeletons, but you know,
I'm all for it.
We're going for it, right?
Look, I think Nick's going to say the same thing I am with this. I don't root for the individual players for the Saints. Like, I'm rooting for the team, the logo on the helmet. And the reality is, like, look, these guys are not all choir boys. Like, every one of these guys, not every one of them, but a good portion of them has skeletons in their closet. And I get there's a lot of moral questions that are coming into play on social media, and everyone's going back and forth. Like, I personally just win, man. At this point, I'm not here for the moral takes and all of that. Like, I want to watch a good product on the field.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say it's like no one in any way, shape, or form condones any of the bad acts that he's done off the field, or even, you know, if he hasn't changed as a person, no one's necessarily condoning who he is as a person. Ideally, do you have a team that's full of like all-American, you know, go-getters, community guys? Of course,
Cam Jordan,
but
53 Cam Jordan.
If you could have 53 Cam Jordans, you would do it. But you know, even guys like Alvin Kamara, you know, it's like he couldn't have done anything dumber after the Pro Bowl. He's going to serve his time for it, the suspension. But even he admitted.
To be fair to him, though, I mean, 5 years he was like the model.
That's what
player
I mean.
that you want.
So
yeah, I mean,
it's kind of like you can do. And look, I'm gonna stand by my draft for character thing because I think that's all you can do. All you can do is like do your homework on these guys. Who are they as people? Are they good people? And then after that, it's kind of like Max says. Like at the end of the day, the team, like whoever you are on that team, you're getting paid to win games. You know, and you're trying to make sure that you're not bringing in any like Aaron Hernandez in the process, but you got to win.
Yeah, and you know what though? It's funny because now we're in a social media age where everything is highlighted and amplified. You know, had Twitter been around when Michael Jordan was ascending in the NFL and the NBA and doing everything he was doing, you know, like his reputation is he was a stone cold killer on the court.
Right.
You know, and I promise you, people would have been picking apart everything he did off the court. You know, it's just we live in an era where everyone is under a microscope, and it's honestly, it's fucking exhausting. You know, like these guys, like Deshaun Watson had impeccable character in his scouting report coming out of Clemson. You know, he was
right.
Think about it. You know, he was one of the people.
Well, that was my whole point on Corey with the draft when we were discussing is that you can only know what you know. Right. You don't know.
And look, the reality is they're human beings. Human beings make mistakes. Human beings fuck up. Like, how many times have the three of us fucked up at some point? I mean, Nick and I could fill an entire season's worth of podcasts over the dumb shit we did in high school and probably college as well. People making mistakes. Think about this, though. It's like Jameis Winston, at one point in time, people looked at him as a scumbag, you know, for the Uber ride incident, the stealing of the crab legs, all of that. You know, and it's like now he is universally beloved in this city almost to a point where it's insanity, the cult of Jameis. And look, I was one of Jameis's biggest fans. coming out of Florida State. And now it has gone so far in the opposite end of the spectrum that it's ridiculous.
Max, it's okay. Look, we all know that your burner account is Jameis 101. Okay,
Shit.
like
I wish I had the time to do what that dude is doing, because it is fucking impressive to see what he has done. That dude mention Jameis or Winston in any tweet, and that dude descends upon that tweet thread and is just spitting out stats and all that. It's amazing.
You should know. You see this, Nick? He's plugging himself. He's plugging his burner account right now. Are you going to plug the book next, Max?
I might have to. If I remembered the name of the title, I would. I actually want to read the book just because that guy's psycho and genius at the same time.
Plausible deniability followed with another plug. That's pretty good, Max. That's impressive.
There it is.
Yeah. So, I think so. The initial thing with Kareem was like the cringe face emoji, but then you immediately follow that back up with like the visions of like, it's the visions of Kareem Hunt and how good the name of Kareem Hunt, like when he was rookie and was neck and neck with Kamara. And, I think the jury's out on whether or not not if he is still that guy, but whether or not he can still be that guy. But for me, and, this was I felt this hot take kind of cooking up throughout the day. And maybe, I don't know if y'all are going to think it's hot or not, but honestly, I mean, Kareem Hunt's a big name, but I don't even think it's the most impactful signing out of the past few days that the Saints have made.
It's not a signing yet, so let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Potential. I mean, let's just
potential.
If he were to sign it, like what I'm saying is like everybody's excited about it. If he were to sign, or if Barr were to sign, I might even rank it number 3.
I'm not going to look. I'm going to say this right now. I think the opinions on it are split. And that's from, reading what I've read on social media today and in, various Discord channels and all of that. Like,
based on what, though? Why is this split?
Well, people aren't crazy about it, and some of it is due to the character, and then some of it is due to the actual performance. Like he's not that guy anymore. I don't think. He's not the 1,300-yard running back anymore. Now, is he 700, 800? Probably.
To Nick's point,
what's the expectation when you're going to bring a guy in for a couple $1 million? I mean, are people really thinking he's going to come in and lead the league in rushing? I mean,
no. I think like our expectation, I think, would be pretty spot on. Where the first 3 weeks he comes in and he's more of a factor in the receiving game, while Jamal Williams and Kendre Miller are probably doing more in the running game. But like I think 300, 400 yards is probably the expectation. Anyone thinking that they were getting a 1,300-yard guy is probably crazy.
He's kind of like
there's a reason he's available right now.
He's kind of like the Jimmy Graham analog to the running back position. Like you bring Jimmy Graham in.
That's a great point.
And it's like, all right, what do we really expect out of him? The guy you remember, the name. It's like when your friend that has a decent but isn't a decent job, not like totally rolling in it, shows up in like a 2013 Audi coupe. It looks nice. It just got washed. He just bought it off the lot. It's a fast car. It's a fast car. At one point it was a head turner, but he rolls it out like 10 years after, it came off the lot, and you're like, look, it's got potential. I mean, it could be good. But then I see a guy like Anthony Barr come in, and it's like, well, there's your tried and true SUV that you're going to take to the beach, and you know what you're going to expect. And it might not turn heads on the road, and it might not be the fanciest name, but it's a name. It's a household name, and it's what we need, because we have kids. We can't just like throw 2 kids and beach shit in the back of a coupe. But that's kind of my, loose comparison to it.
I like games before names, and Kareem's more of a name than having the game.
There you go.
Yeah, I disagree with that a little bit.
If we get him for the minimum, awesome. But if he's wanting like 2 or 3 mil,
he's not signing for the minimum. He's not. There's no way.
I don't think so either.
It won't be much more. I mean, it'll be $2 million in that range. No one's going to give him more than that. I mean, because he's a running back right now, and he's not an elite running back. But I mean, I'm looking at his Cleveland numbers here. The last 3 years. Now, he was dinged up last year a lot, and he played all 17, but he was dinged up a bunch, if you remember. The first full year in Cleveland, he went for 1,100 total yards, 11 TDs. Second year, he missed the second half of the season, but he finished with was on pace through 8 games for 10 touchdowns and about 1,200 yards, well, about 1,100 total yards. And then last year, he lost a ton of touches to Chubb because Chubb, as we know, maybe the best in the league. Right.
Yeah. Chubb found another gear last year.
Yeah. And as they should, giving him way more touches like they did and minimize Kareem's role. So he's 28. He doesn't have a ton of mileage. He only has how many touches? Less than 1,100 touches in his career. He has had nicked up injuries here and there, so that's a concern. But at 28, without a lot of tread on the tires, I just thought he was a good fit because of the way he can catch the ball. He's
definitely a good fit.
No, it's absolutely a good fit. And look, again, we're premature in it because he hasn't signed. I honestly don't think he signs because he's going to want more than what they're going to offer. But it would be a good fit and potentially, look, I love it. Flood the offense with weapons.
I agree. Yeah. He was asking for more, like Corey said. I think that's probably the case. The reality is he's going to settle in at 2 to 2.5. That's where it's going to be. Yeah. We talked about this in an early episode of – if we even brought up Kareem Hunt's name, we talked about, I believe it was the same episode we were talking about. It might have been the Caden episode, actually, because we were talking about linebacker and we were talking about pass rush.
I don't remember that one.
We were kind of going back and forth on what we thought was more important. This is before the draft. So we were talking about, is it better to get a veteran running back in there just with the Kamara stuff looming? Or, that third pass rusher, or, we were kind of considering those 3 positions, and to see them go after 2 of them today I think is awesome. What we end up getting out of them, who knows if we sign them both, but at least it's trying to beef up those spots that look a little bit thin for us.
Yeah. I love the action. It's like, this is totally not Sean Payton. It was going around on Twitter today that like, if Peyton was still here, like Tony Jones Jr. is getting that rock right now.
Or Cadet, Traveris Cadet.
Like, or if it's Cadet from a few years ago. I mean, like, there's no way in hell. I mean, because he had the opportunity to do it, and he didn't. But there's no way in hell that Peyton's going out and even bringing in Kareem Hunt for a visit. He would give us the whole, look, I really like the room. And
I don't know. He brought in Antonio Brown.
That is true.
Because that's the same. But
and his video team.
Jesus Christ, yeah.
Des Bryant.
What could have been?
Maybe it's a running back thing for him. But here's shifting from but Kareem Hunt and then bringing in the same guy for a visit, bringing in another guy for a visit the same day is I liked. We in our own group text did the hooting and hollering about like the news of Kareem Hunt, but in that moment, honestly, I was like, it's nice, but I'd be more excited if we brought in someone in a more practical spot. And then lo and behold, a few hours later, you have the news about Anthony Barr coming in. See, I'm much more excited about a guy like Anthony Barr coming in because everyone's like, I got to give a shout out actually right now to, we're recording a little bit late. We're talking about the news on Monday. It's Monday night right now. I was at my meeting over at the 3rd District Volunteer Fire Department in River Ridge, Louisiana. One of their guys, they're one of my clients, but Ray Roberts is a volunteer firefighter who listens to our pod, loves it, thinks you and Max, you and Nick are hilarious. But
smart man.
Shout out to him for listening. But one of the guys in the meeting room tonight was like, oh, you saw they're bringing in this linebacker because Demario Davis has the calf issue. And I'll say that wasn't Ray that said that. It was one of the other guys I'll leave unnamed. But shout out to our heroes, especially if you live in the River Ridge area. But these guys are volunteer firefighters. Can't say enough good about them. But one of them said, oh, Demario, calf, that's why they're bringing in Anthony Barr. And I'm thinking, like, even if Demario's not injured, like, you need a quality guy. It's like what Garland said a couple episodes back. I mean, after Warner, it's just, guys that we know as Saints fans, but the amount of snaps with NFL snaps and the guys that are behind Demario and Warner are
Yeah,
scary.
and look, he has a really good point, honestly, because it's, having a calf injury, we don't know the timeline and how quickly he's going to come back, and hopefully it's soon, but you just never know with these things, especially when the player is 33, 34 years old. He's had amazing injury luck over his career, but he is getting up there in age. And the reality is, after DeMario and Warner, there's question marks.
Yeah, it's
So
scary.
I know you would probably slide Pete Warner to the middle linebacker spot if DeMario was out, but then you got to play. They play basically two linebackers in their base set, so
Yeah.
who's that second guy at that point? We've had the Zach Bond debate before, and DeMarco Jackson. He's flashed a little bit. Nephi Sewell is another one that's had a good camp, but
That's
Jesus.
your age sake this year.
My age, yeah. But look, those guys are not – no one's a sure thing at this point. And honestly, Anthony Barr is very similar to Caden Ellis last year. That's your best-case scenario with Barr.
Yeah.
Putting up 6, 7, 8 sacks in a blitzing role and being able to play the run, and all that. But he's not a weak-side guy. He's more of a strong-side guy.
Yeah, I was really high on Anthony Barr when the Vikings drafted him.
He was a real good player in college, man.
Just like Caden.
But he's not a great.
great.
I don't know. 7 sacks probably ambitious for him.
It is probably three or four, I would say.
Yeah, but he's pretty good in coverage, which could help. He's an athletic freak. But
I like his savvy. Like, he seems to really have a good at this point in his career. I was watching the cut up I shared with y'all. It was just from one game, but he shows signs to the casual observer even that he can read an offense. Like, he can shoot a gap. He knows when you're playing a trick on him and can diagnose it. And I think with the young guys we have in the locker room, I think we need that either way.
Yeah, I'm all for signing him. Again, I think temper expectations here. He's older. He hasn't played a full season in 5 years, I think. As long as our expectations are where he should be for, how old is he? 32 maybe? He's
31.
31. So he's probably paid 8 or 9 seasons now.
Actually, this is his 9th year.
This will be his 9th. So
yeah.
If we end up, if Warner or somebody or Davis gets injured in the first game, we're depending on him on all year. We're probably still in pretty rough shape. But as a third linebacker to cover a few games, if someone gets nicked up, coming in there when we need it, I mean, you can't complain to a guy who's made multiple Pro Bowls and can do a lot of things out there. I think it's.
I was about to say a Saints linebacker that hasn't played a full season in 5 years. Sounds like it fits right in.
Yep. Unless your name's Mario.
Yeah, he's
kind of wild, and he's made Pro Bowls when you look at his stats, because he doesn't have any season where he's filling the stat page with some really strong numbers. They just kind of it just looks like a really solid player when you look at his numbers.
He's definitely one of those NFC linebackers that got in where you're like, wait, he got in over DeMario? Well, now maybe he's
that's the first thought I had. Hopefully, but we'll see.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that's hopefully maybe we'll get one or two of those two guys to sign. I'm all for signing both of them.
Look, bring in depth whenever you can. It doesn't hurt to add more players to the mix. Create competition, let everything work out the way it's going to work out. Let the cream rise to the top, and just bring in good players, man. That's it. Just bring in good players.
Did you say let the Kareem rise to the top?
I did not. But that's good. I like what you did there.
That's all I did there.
Let's talk about some of the injuries. Let's talk about some of the injuries we've had over the last
I love talking
week
about
or
this.
so.
So which one? I mean, obviously, like the ones that scare me the most are when you hear groin, because those seem to take a while to get over. Like Shaheed with the groin. When I hear calf, I'm thinking like somebody bruised a muscle or something like that. Maybe not as worried. Which one kind of, or do any of them stand out to y'all?
I mean, DeMario, just because of who he is, and it's concerning, because we've covered this a million times, talking about how it's him and Warner, and That if one of them goes out, there could be issues. So DeMario is the most concerning to me. Andrus Pete, we expected at this point. Doesn't really bother me. It's more. I'm more impressed with the fact that Penning and Cesar Ruiz have actually been doing so well in training camp, and they haven't had any setbacks yet. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
But let's see, Rashid Shaheed. I know he's going to be out for the preseason from what they said today, but they said he will be back for week 1.
Yeah.
So not as concerning. Honestly, DeMario to me, that's the most troublesome injury.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't seem that concerned about it though. So,
Yeah.
Eno's obviously out for the year. He
Big
was
blow.
probably,
Big blow.
if we bring in Kareem Hunt, it's, we're probably better off. So that one doesn't worry you too much. I'd just say so far so good. It's kind of how I feel about it.
Nick,
You're going to see some of these pop up.
I know you were broken up, Nick, about Andrew Dowell.
Yeah. Took a few days.
Well, look, the Dowell injury hurts on special teams. Like, let's not make any bones about it. I mean, he's a damn good special teams player, and honestly, they were expecting him to make the leap a little bit this year. He's that guy that always excels during training camp and preseason, and just numbers game catches up at another position, and he just doesn't get a chance to really show what he has. But Sewell, they're saying, has been stepping up, so we'll see.
Yeah, bookmark that special teams thought, because about the recent few days of signings or visits, that's something I'm going to get back to. But I find it interesting that one of the biggest gripes we always had with Sean Payton was that we never knew anything about injuries. It was like, he went down. Any updates on the injury? Y'all know I don't talk about injuries. Like, nothing.
I get it, though, man. It's like you don't want to
overplay his hand. But it's almost like now that we have a coach who actually tells us what he supposedly thinks about an injury, I'm kind of like, do I wish he didn't say anything? Because when I hear the head coach saying, like, nothing we think that's too serious, and then if something does end up being serious, it's like, well, shit, you got my hopes up. Because you can always lean back on the training staff, but like it ended up being more serious than we thought at the outset. Like, they can always say that. But I've noticed that DA, as opposed to Payton, he has definitely given some like reportable take on pretty much any injury that we've had so far. I mean, like, he'll even say they're going in for imaging. Like, Sean Payton would never. He wouldn't tell you, especially at training camp. And maybe when injuries were required to be reported, you had to put a P or a Q next to a dude's name. But in Payton, I almost called it Payton camp, kind of was. But in training camp, there's no way Payton would be giving us the amount of information we get from DA. So I hope he's right, is all I'm saying, with his not too concerned.
Well, I don't know. I think let me say this. I think the biggest thing is there's several key guys that we need to not get hurt. Marshawn Lattimore, Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Those to me are your two indispensable players at this point. If Carr gets hurt, it's going to be a bad season. If Lattimore gets hurt, that defense is going to struggle a little bit.
Yeah.
Nick's been on record multiple times on this podcast talking about his thoughts on Lattimore, and the reality is he's 100% correct, and that Marshawn is quite possibly our best player at this point. And I'm saying that above DeMario and Cam and everybody else. Like,
Marshawn, the whole defense is just different when he's in there. I mean, you can see it when he got hurt last year, and then when he came back, how the defense amped up to a whole nother level towards the end of the season. For whatever reason, when he's out there, the defense is far better.
And look, by all accounts, he's having his best camp ever. Underhill's been gushing about him. All the other beat reporters for the Saints have been gushing about Lattimore. Like, he's out there dominating people.
Yeah.
It's a big deal when, like, Michael Thomas wins a rep against him. It's a big deal because it's not happening often at this point.
Because it's basically like when you look at Carr or Lattimore, and like you said, who's indispensable. I mean, you're talking about the absence of those players literally costing you wins in the win-loss column. And those players don't grow on trees. So, I mean, will DeMario cost a win? Possibly. Will Lattimore cost a win? Definitely.
Yes, definitely.
Will Carr cost a win? Definitely. And those are I agree. Like,
yeah, like
hold your
Benjamin.
breath.
Yeah, Benjamin. Does it suck? Yeah, it sucks. But the reality is, you can sign a running back off the street that's going to give you the production of Benjamin.
He's RB4 at best.
He's RB4, at best. And then you get Andrews Pete. It's an expectation at this point that he's going to get hurt.
There's a big sect of Saints fans that are like relieved to see him not on the field. Almost like doing this.
That's
us.
a bad take, though, man. Because look,
but
I know. But I'm just saying, if anyone listening, like as much shit as we give Pete, and like I personally have given him a lot of shit over the years on Twitter. But I mean, this dude, look,
he's trying.
He's better than the alternative. You know what I mean? Like he's overpaid. Obscenely overpaid for what he does.
And that's why he catches so much shit, if we're being honest. It was a bad contract.
It was a bad contract.
Yeah, because when you're looking at him versus James Hurst, it's like it's kind of debatable which one has an edge on the other, but no one's out here like trashing or dragging James Hurst through the mud, because
Hurst makes a fraction of
he
what
wasn't
Pete
a first
does, so.
Exactly, and that's why. But
Pete is he's made 3 Pro Bowls. I know we can talk what does the Pro Bowl really mean, but he is a far above average player. We just happen, our front office thought he was a top 3 guard in the league when we paid him. So, everyone hones in on that, and we like to talk shit about him. And for that value, it's 100% correct. But the player as a player on the field, if you throw all that out the window, again, the team's better when he's there than when he's not.
Yeah,
he's a solid player.
The last thing I have on the injuries is that, like, I think Lattimore, Carr, you're right about that, Max. I think, like, if it's multiple injuries to, like, Ramczyk, McCoy, or Penning, like, at the same time, I think that equates to either one Marshawn or one Carr, because I think if we really want to make noise this year, that O-line doesn't have to just hold its own. I think it has to overachieve for us to really make noise. Because that's, if you look at all the position groups, it seems pretty good. Like, not the depth at linebacker, but the starters, solid. DBs, obviously solid. QB, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. We all know the drill there. D-line even. But the biggest question is that O-line. We talked about it with Ralph last episode. And I think if that O-line, if everyone just plays to their, like, base level grade, we're playoffs, sure. But if we really want to make noise, like, that O-line has to overachieve. I think the 09 team, no one saw that coming out of that offensive line. They overachieved, and they were ballers. They set a standard from that point out. I think we have to kind of have the same degree, and that's why the injuries that's why I looked at the O-line really hoping we stay healthy there.
You know what, though? Like, I get your point, but I don't agree with the overachieve part, because these guys, for the most part, were high picks. Penning's a first-round pick. Andrews Pete is a first-round pick. Eric McCoy is a high second-round pick. Cesar Ruiz was a first-round pick. Ryan Ramczyk is a first-round pick. It's not that they need to overachieve. These fucking guys need to just do what their pedigree says they were supposed to do. And they're all relatively young in that. I think the oldest one is 28 or 29. It's either Pete or Ramczyk. I'm not sure which one.
Yeah, I think Pete's 29, and that's
I think Pete's 29 and Ramczyk's probably 28. The rest of these guys are pups, man. They're young. Yeah. Like McCoy's probably 25, 26. Penning and Ruiz. Ruiz is really young. So if he can put it together. But my point is, like, I don't think overachieve. If they just achieve what they're supposed to achieve on paper from when they were drafted, these like.
Well, I think there's a difference there. I think there's a expectation when they were drafted, and then since they've been drafted, like the years that they've been in the league. And
but look, Penning's in his second year, and he was hurt last year.
Well, yeah, he's. I mean, Penning's different, but
McCoy has been exceptional since he was drafted. Ramczyk has been exceptional since he was drafted. Ruiz, rough first 2 years. Last year, pulled it together, had a solid year. So the third one, Pete, we just finished talking about how he's better than people give him credit for. It's more a statement on the contract that he was given by our front office than his play on the field. But Pete is a rock-solid player. So I don't think they need to overachieve, man. They just need to do what they're supposed to do.
And be healthy.
I just think of how we were on the O-line there in the 09 year, and we were just elite. I think if you could say,
hold on, and Nick will back this up. Were they elite, or were they a byproduct of Drew Brees being at the top of his game and knowing everything that was going on and elevating everyone around him? Nick, go ahead and say what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say.
That's chicken and the egg a little bit, but
I don't think it is. I think it's not an anomaly that every offensive line Brees had was a pretty good offensive line, and Brees was never sacked.
I don't think that's true. He got clobbered his last 2 years. He had no time to throw the ball.
You think he got clobbered? Go look at the sack numbers. He didn't get clobbered. He got hit a few times.
That's what I mean. He was under duress like crazy his last 2 years.
I don't agree with that, and he wasn't sacked much. And we were very efficient on offense those last 2 years. He was an older dude who couldn't take a shot. I think that's probably part of it. And part of it's a little bit of luck. Getting your hand hit on a helmet is unlucky. Having a 300-pound guy fall straight on your ribs is a little unlucky, when he's outside the pocket trying to make a play. I'm not saying those lines the last couple of years. I'm not in disagreement that they weren't as good as the Jari years and, Carl Nix and all those guys. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying a quarterback like that can make things look so much better than maybe they are. There's a reason that's Brady
true.
Never gets sacked. He was bombarded last year and didn't get sacked. So
that's true. But I think the guys that we ended up with, Drew made them better, but regardless, like that O-line was elite. I think if this O-line were to be elite, you would say that they overachieved by becoming elite. Like, are they elite right now?
Which line in particular are you saying was elite in the Brees era?
I think he's saying 2009.
The 09 was definitely an elite offensive line. If this offensive line ended up having the performance, and I'm talking run block and pass block combined, if this offensive line got to a level to where they were being compared to the 09 offensive line, which again is an offensive line that just trounced the league, made people look silly, then you would say that they overachieved to get there because no one's expecting them to be that way.
Well, hold on. Let's talk about the 2009 offensive line. So, left tackle, Jamal Brown, first-round pick. Carl Nix, I think fourth or fifth-round pick. I'm not sure which. Definitely was way better than the round he was drafted in. Jonathan Goodwin, we traded for him, I believe, or signed him from the Jets. Jari Evans, amazing fourth-round pick, Hall of Fame player. Zach Strief, love the guy.
Stinchcomb.
No, Strief on this team.
In 09, it was Strief, I think, right?
It's Strief, yeah.
I thought Stinchcomb was still on that team.
He might have been on the team. I'm looking at the 2009 starting lineup here.
Who started in the Super Bowl?
I
guess Strief was our right tackle by then, yeah.
Yeah. So, man,
I can tell you this line is more talented than that line.
This line is more talented. It is. I agree with him. Look, Jamal Brown, Trevor Penning, that's neck and neck.
Well, I haven't
Carl
seen
Nix, I'm going to give Carl Nix.
No.
Well, hold
Penning,
on.
You can't. Wait, hold on. No, you hold on. You can't say Penning and Brown are neck and neck. Not right now. That's crazy.
You can't today. You can talent wise. You can't say that as a pro he has.
Well, that's what I mean.
Jamal
That's
Brown.
what I mean. Because
you realize Jamal Brown was out of the league pretty quickly, bro. Because
he
of
was
injuries.
He was quick, but like
so. No, realistically,
Penning has a long way to go.
Talent wise, you can absolutely comp them. And honestly, Penning is more talented than Jamal Brown ever was. If we're going off of talent, physical ability. Carl Nix, obviously, he's a better player than Andrew Speed. It's not close.
Right.
Jonathan Goodwin, Eric McCoy. I'm giving McCoy the edge.
Bullshit. No, Goodwin all
You're
day.
crazy. You're
right
crazy
now?
If you say otherwise. Absolutely, right now, Eric McCoy is a better player than Jonathan Goodwin was.
Yeah,
I'm not there.
He is. I think
it's not even in question. Now, Jari Evans, absolutely a better player than Cesar Ruiz. Ryan Ramczyk is a better player than Zach Strief, and don't argue that.
No, I'm not arguing that.
Okay, so it's pretty – honestly, it's pretty comparable when you talk about it.
Well, then they have to – they're not right now, though, because they haven't played – they've played together. All these guys have already played together. I mean,
look, man,
with the exception of Penning, but –
I'm going to back up Nick's point on this. I think that offensive line success is more a byproduct of Breeze elevating guys that were really good, but taking them up to that elite level just by having him just doing all the checkdowns and just being aware of everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Like Nick has said this a million times, and it's to the point where my ears are bleeding, but we're never going to see a player like Breeze again. And the reality is all of us have taken him for granted in some form or fashion because we look at, we only look at the passing stats. We don't look at all the shit he did before the play. When he walks up to the line, like this dude was elevating everything around him.
Let's just talk about the receivers as
question.
well.
Yeah. I mean, well, there's no doubt he elevated the receivers, but I agree with you. I agree. He absolutely helped the offensive line. I mean, and I think one thing we can absolutely all agree on is that the past 2 years with the quarterback play we had, our offensive line, everybody on it that we just read, the current offensive line, they were on their own. Like they weren't getting any help from the guy that was behind center. So I agree with that 100%. So hopefully, I stand by what I said about the 09 comps to this one, but hopefully Derek Carr, he's not going to be Breeze. I think anyone that's expecting that can just delusional.
But he can make this line look good because of the way he gets the ball out. He gets the ball out quick, like Drew
That's what I was going to say. And he's going to be able. He will more confidently audible. He will more confidently check hot routes. You name it. I'm not saying that Dalton didn't try to do that. Not saying Jameis didn't try to do that. But I say more confidently. Like when Carr does it, he's just going to do it. Like he's not going to waffle on it. He's going to be clear about it. He's a better leader. So yeah, I want to see. I'll say this: I want to see Nick's Drew Brees helping the offensive line theory come into fruition this season. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I just think the biggest thing is my point was you saying that the offensive line from 2009 is by far superior to our offensive line. That's not true.
Well, performance
it's very comparable. Yes,
performance
at the end of that season, yes, but at the same point, there's a scenario where this offensive line can reach what that offensive line did.
Well, and the reason I'm saying it, the reason I use it the reason I bring it up in that way is because, with the exception of Penning, who's looking like the left tackle starter this year and missed so much time last year. So, with the exception of him, it's not like there's new people. It's not like it's a revamped offensive line. It's what you worked with last year and mostly the year before that. So
let's also consider with this offensive line compared to 09, Corey, just where they're at in their career.
They're younger.
Not a lot. This is about when that line started to take off, right? Because we're talking about that 06 draft. We're talking, when was Streif drafted?
Time out. One correction. It was John Stinchcomb starting lineup for the Super Bowl. Not Streif, but I'm still taking Ramczyk over Stinchcomb, and it's not even close.
Yeah, I'm there. I agree with that as well. But that's a good point. Hopefully,
hold on. To Nick's point, the age. Stinchcomb was 30. Jari Evans was 26 in his prime.
Yeah.
Jonathan Goodwin, 31 on the back end of his career. Carl Nicks, 24, prime of his career. Bushrod, 25.
Oh, yeah, it's Bushrod, not Jamal. Jamal Brown was the guy at the beginning of the year, then Bushrod. Yeah.
But here's the deal, though. Penning is so much more talented than Bushrod, and his ceiling is so much higher. So back to the original point,
let's look at it, though, as far as this group, other than Penning, has been together now 3 years, right? All of them since Ruiz got here. You've got 3 guys that are 25 and under, and you got 2 29-year-old guys as the veterans. Looks very similar to what 09 looked like. Ramczyk's 3-time All-Pro already. Pete's 3-time Pro Bowl. McCoy probably should have made a Pro Bowl, but our team sucked so bad last year. Yeah. And then you've got a first-round pick in Penning, and then you're hoping Ruiz makes another jump this year, right? Another first-round pick that you hope makes the jump.
Yeah.
A pretty similar type of way the line's built out, and they've been together 3 years other than Penning. So
I guess
CJ Ruiz is 24 years old. Think about that for a minute.
Look,
Jake Haener is 24 as a rookie. This is Ruiz's, fourth year?
Here's my thing.
More than that, McCoy's only 25, and it's his 5th year, right?
Yeah, dude. That's what we're saying.
this is tough for me because I can't really say that y'all are wrong, but I think
we know that.
Yeah, that's what you like hearing me say that. I know, I get it, but I think my angst comes from the fact that like my angst doesn't come from the fact that y'all aren't wrong.
Is it because Stinchcomb went to Georgia? Is that what it is?
Hey, my Bulldog got a ring with us. I'm good with it. But
okay. All right.
and I agree Ramchek's better than him. But it's that here's the angst. Okay, y'all aren't wrong when you go player by player by player by player, and you look at their talent, you compare them to the 09 guy, and the age and the pedigree and so I see that too. My thing is what I haven't seen it on the field, and I haven't seen the cohesiveness yet. Like that 09 offensive line had arguably the same talent level, but when I say they're an elite unit. Like they played together. And you're right, Nick. I mean, I'm not before y'all jump down my throat. Like you're right. Breeze was like the only, if not a huge reason for why they were so cohesive in the way that they played. So it's frustrating to me when I see a player by player comparison, and you can't really say that besides Jari, maybe Nick's, that like anyone on that 09 line was individually far and away a better player. That's why it's frustrating to me that this line just hasn't had that pop. They've had great games,
but let's also look at
like,
what
I need to see it. I have to see it. That's why.
I hear you. And like the accomplishments, I'm not going to argue. Obviously, that's a Super Bowl winning line. It was a great offense. But think about what was on responsibility wise. I mean, wasn't McCoy calling all the protections last year because they didn't think Jameis could?
Yeah, I think Max said that on previous episodes too. Like that can't happen.
Yeah. Right. And Carr is going to take care of that, guaranteed. So when you put everything on the line and you have someone behind them who can't play, great year by Andy Dalton, overachieved his ass off. You know, the guy's in his mid-30s, had a great year for him. But he's not elevating anyone on that offensive line. We know that.
That's
and
great. I
think just getting a guy in there who can take control of the huddle, let them do what they do, and he's running the whole show back there. I think you're going to see a massive leap, and I don't think the players change very much. I think you're just going to see them look way better. You know, 3 of these guys could make a Pro Bowl this year if we have the record we all said we would have on a previous episode.
Yeah, and that's what I'm
3
saying.
of them could be in there.
I'm ready.
I agree 100% with everything you just said, and that's you know, the original point Corey made was that this line would have to overachieve, and I think the point I was arguing was
to like get to a championship game.
And my thing is, they don't have to overachieve; they just simply need to achieve up to their pedigree. So I think that was the original point.
I think maybe we have
the 2009 team obviously is better. You know, the offensive line was better because they did it. They won a title as a unit. But the reality is this team, I think, with the right supporting cast, you know, that the 2009 team had, whether it was the opportunistic defense, whether it was Drew Brees in his prime, whether it was Shockey and all of that, I think this team could achieve the same thing with that offensive line.
So let me just say this. Here's my optimistic. I'm going to put the spin on it and bring it home with some optimism. If this offensive line can be elevated by Carr, and if Carr can elevate this unit, and if this unit plays together, I've seen a bunch of individuals out there the past few years, and I know I kind of sound like a high school football coach right now, but it's true. You know, like I've seen individual great efforts, but I have yet to see this line, maybe with the exception of 1 or 2 games, truly play like a single body, a single cohesive unit. And if that happens with this line and our defense stays healthy for the most part, stays in that top 10 area, if our skill players can all stay healthy for the most part and Carr healthy throughout the year, then I'm going to give a watch out right now. It's a watch out scenario because if this offensive line can elevate it, if this offensive line can be, because they're the weakest link on the team right now. And if they can become a strong point, a strength, then this team, I know we've been saying on paper, but there's a huge amount of potential for this team if this offensive line can elevate from where they've been the past 2 years.
The talent is there. They just need to perform up to the talent. That's all it is. This team has to stay healthy, or the offensive line has to stay healthy, and they need to perform to where they were drafted.
I'm saying they have
They
a
do,
huge
they will be
impact.
fine. And the biggest thing is they now have the most important piece of the puzzle, which is a competent quarterback. We have not had a competent quarterback in 2 seasons. They now have one where these guys shouldn't have to be performing as individuals. They can perform as one cohesive unit.
Yeah, that's what we need to see. All right.
Yeah. Well, look, one thing I want to bring up, though, is
go ahead.
Cam Jordan, contract extension.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it.
Let's get something we can all 3 of us be aligned on and talk about and be happy about. And that's Cam Jordan, 2-year contract extension, should hopefully, let him retire in the black and gold. We'll see what happens, but and also hopefully pass up Ricky Jackson's unofficial sack record with the Saints, because his first season or 2 they didn't count sacks as an official stat. So Cam is already the official Saints record holder in career sacks, but he needs, I think, 9 more to surpass Ricky Jackson's 123.
And that he knows what it is.
Oh no! Look, from texting with him, and we've gone back and forth on this over the last couple of years. He said he's like, that's the goal. I got to get that number.
Yeah, and you love to see him take what was it 27 for 2, so 13 a year. When for sure they would have given him more. Just for who he is, and if he performs just as last year, which was 7.5 sacks. I know 3 of them were in one game, but 7.5 sacks. Still a huge factor in the run game, even though we weren't as good as a team for most of the season. If he just plays at that level, it's actually a deal for us, just as not even being Cam Jordan. So you gotta love him. He just wants to be here, and he took a contract that made sure he'll be here till he's done.
Yeah,
and I think we talked about it. Honestly, he's a top. I mean, in my opinion, he's one of my favorite 3 Saints players ever. He might be number 1 when it's all said and done. Like the guy is just a stand-up guy, and the biggest thing with him is he is always on the field. The guy never misses games.
Yeah, I mean, and it's also refreshing to me to see every team's got a great press conference guy. Every team's got a great quote locker room guy, but it's not so often where you see that guy also be one of your top performers. And I just love that he walks the walk, as well as talks the talk, and his commitment to the team. He's so refreshingly real about everything, and he's not saying like, oh, we'll start with the division. Hopefully, if we win the division, good things will happen, and maybe we get to a championship game. Like, no, he's straight up public about it. Like, no, man, I want to bring Carr back to Vegas. I want a Super Bowl. Like, I want a ring. Like, let's go.
And that is the one thing we need. We need him to get one somehow.
Yeah. So, like, and look, I'm pretty convinced too that let's just say he's got a continued rejuvenation about his play, and in 2 years from now, he's looking like he's like year what was it going to be 17 or 18 by then is very doable. I'm pretty confident that they're going to hook him up again. They'll just keep him. He said it. He goes, I'm going to evaluate where I am then. I'm not going to put a number on it now. I had a goal, but I know that goal can get extended. So
yeah, and Corey, I know you mentioned special teams earlier, and I know you want to talk about the local kid that we signed.
Yeah, I think that out of all the signings or potential signings, I mean, like, honestly, Max, I don't know if I'm disappointed. I thought you were going to be a lot more higher on Kareem Hunt, so I was planning on coming in and like knocking him down.
No, man, that's
all
Nick.
upset about
that's
it.
Nick, dude.
And
look, I will.
Maybe
look, there is no world that Benjamin is better than Kareem Hunt. So I would prefer to sign Kareem Hunt.
See, as much as I want to go on one of those like magical hot take rides,
do it.
I can't say I can't.
Fucking do it. What you got? Give me Caden Ellis Mountain here. What you got?
No. I'm saying like this would have been a perfect opportunity if I was feeling really squirrely to tell you some argument as to why Benjamin's actually better than Kareem Hunt, but I can't do that.
I would cut your mic off.
I can't.
Your mic would get cut off, and we would disconnect your feed.
I can't in good conscience do that. But yeah, I think that there is an argument to be made, which is my favorite famous last words. Whenever I say that the Jontre Kirkland situation, and hear me out, could actually have more of an impact on the team's win-loss bottom line than the Kareem Hunt potential signing.
Okay, so you're probably going to need to explain to Nick who Jontre Kirkland is, first of all, because he hasn't been keeping up with this.
Jontre Kirkland, and I don't even me being the professed Georgia Bulldog fan, but the guy came from LSU. He was a wide receiver, converted from DB. But he was
there for 5 years.
But the reports, all accounts, he's a freak athlete. He can do almost literally anything on the field. He's the one that filled in at quarterback, even though the game was horrible.
They didn't score. No, they did score. They scored what?
No, they scored 3 touchdowns. He had 3 touchdowns.
Did he?
Yeah, here's the thing. We talked about losing Andrew Dowell earlier, and if you go back through you go back to the 2009 team there again, the contributors on special teams were household names, and then even of more recent vintage, you've got guys like JT Gray, Chris Banjo.
I feel like you're going somewhere with Caden Ellis. You're going to Caden Ellis Mountain. I don't know how you're spending it, but you're going somewhere with this Kirkland signing. So who does he comp to? Who is he?
I don't have a comp for him. You could talk about
I feel like you're on the fence and you're about to go there. Or you just need a little extra prodding.
Where was he last year? Wasn't that bowl game 2 years ago?
It was. He signed with the Arizona Cardinals. No, he signed with the Arizona Cardinals. Had 2 touchdowns in the preseason. Got released. Went to the practice squad. Got a DUI. And got released after that. Went to the XFL, had 320 yards, a couple touchdowns, a bunch of highlight plays. The team was 4-0, got injured, tore a pec or something, and then they went 3-3 the rest of the way.
No, I wasn't going for a comp. I was just really saying that, and I don't know which one you're trying to guide me to there, Max. If you're trying to
I'm not guiding. I'm just trying to look. I gave you the ball, and I'm clearing out the lane, and I'm getting out the way.
Yeah, no, I just think that by the time the dust settles on this season, it's possible that.
So you're saying he makes the team?
Yeah.
Okay, so he makes the team as the 5th or 6th wide receiver / core special teamer, in your opinion?
Yeah,
that's super hard, dude.
He makes, he makes the team and makes some plays on special teams. He flies in from the gunner spot. He makes some key didn't expect to see him in that spot on special teams, but shit, we just reversed the field because he just tackled the dude on a punt inside the 10. Stuff like that, flash plays that you didn't expect. We've always had some kind of guy like that. At least our good teams, our special teams have always had a guy like that. I think
I'll say this.
Be that guy.
I hope you're right, and I do hope he makes the team because he was a very intriguing prospect for me coming out the previous year. Yeah, and he's fast as fuck. He can jump out of the building.
42-inch vertical.
I think he's got a higher than 42-inch, and he ran like a 4.2. The guy is a freak athlete.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd love for him to make the team. I struggle to see who he beats out because
that's where I'm at. Who's he beat out? Maybe we need to talk about that.
Traquan's making the team. As much as I hate Traquan Smith and I want him off of the fucking team, he's making the team.
Well, it won't be a question of what
I see him as a practice squatter for the first half of the year.
And you might be wrong. I just think, however it happens, whether he begins the year on the practice squad and comes into the fold later, I think when the dust settles, there's a real chance that as big of a name as he is and as exciting as it could be if we sign him, that Jontre Kirkland could have a higher impact on this team than Kareem Hunt.
Well, let's let Kareem Hunt sign with the team before we even have this discussion because I don't even think it's happening.
We will circle back to that if we sign Kareem Hunt. We will discuss it.
I give Kareem Hunt about a 10% chance of signing. I think
it's higher than that, but I mean,
I don't think it happens because why would he go through training camp? Right now at this point, sit on the sidelines until someone more high profile gets hurt to where you can slide into a starting position.
Well, I don't think he signs tomorrow, but I think if he's weighing his options.
I don't think he signs with us, period.
That's fair. I mean, it's in the wrong. But I would.
No, it's
absolutely.
As
I was thinking about it today, I was just like, if Kareem does sign, it's just like, it's the easy thing to do to say, Kareem Hunt, Rookie of the Year, rushing leader. But in reality, like, even if he were to sign, your boy Kirkland, if he does his thing on special teams, could have more of a real impact than your RB3.
I don't see that at all, but we can discuss that if we sign Kareem Hunt.
I can't wait. Bart Scott gif. Can't wait.
I kind of love it. The season's not quite here yet, and Corey is already warming up Caden Ellis Mountain. Like he's getting it ready. He's ready to spit out some hot takes all throughout the season. It's going to be fun.
It's like they say in life, Max. There's always room at the top. If you're trying to, don't worry about what's in the way. You want to get to the top. There's always room at the top.
Well, let me say this.
Same goes for Caden Ellis Mountain.
This is a plug for a future episode, but I can't wait for the season preview episode, which will drop after week 3 / final cutdowns in the preseason.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear some of your season predictions.
I'm about to get the kitchen.
I'm ready to write these down. We're going to record we'll record the episode, and we're going to really circle back on these at the end of the year.
The takes are going to be hot, I'm sure.
They
just
are.
Consider this the time where I'm pulling up the recipes on the Amazon.
This is your preseason. Let's be honest.
Googling the recipes. Yeah. I'm thinking I'm on my way to Whole Foods, Rouse's. I guess it's me, so we're going to Rouse's. Let's be honest. And I'm picking out the ingredients. We're gonna get ready to start cooking.
Man, I can't wait. I'm ready to eat.
Oh, you will. You will feast. I have no doubt.
Well, you know what? Like, let's wrap it up with this. Do we have any thoughts on the preseason game other than the obvious of no injuries?
Well, no injuries, but I think it's interesting that Allen was so adamant about the starters playing, Derek Carr playing. Sometimes coaches will say like, "Oh yeah, the starters are playing," but Breeze wouldn't play, whatever. But DA's like, "Yeah, no, I want to see the guys play. They're all playing," and we also know that Andy Reid likes to historically play his starters. So, I think kind of. That's interesting. And also it makes me think, with the new 3-game preseason, newish, is week 1 the new week 3 of the preseason? Because these teams do their joint practices in weeks 2 and 3. They don't play their starters in the games because they all got work in the joint practices. So, is week 1 now becoming like the throw in your starters for a series or a quarter? I don't know, but I'm looking forward to at least seeing. You can't put too much stock in it, of course, because I'm sure the play calling will be vanilla, even for Carmichael and Nick's favorite guy and Reed. But I'm looking forward to seeing Carr and Mahomes out there. Maybe Mahomes, maybe not.
I'm just looking forward to seeing no injuries and Kamara out there for a little bit of time as possible.
Sure, agreed.
A lot more too.
Yeah,
Nick, what you got? Anything?
No, I think I have no problem with it at all. 0. I think it's blown out of proportion that they don't play at all. I think they should play a couple series every week, honestly, just to get rhythm in the offense. Ever since we've seen all these coaches, and it's universal, it's not the Saints, get away from playing in the preseason completely, we've seen just horrible week 1 and week 2 games for the most part.
Teams literally look like they're trudging through the preseason in week 1. It's horrible.
Yeah, so I'm all for it. No, I don't want them playing the whole game. I don't want them even playing a lot, but just to get some continuity and get some rhythm on offense especially, I'm all for it.
Yeah. I saw Underhill had a great swat down of some guy that replied to his account and was like, I don't want to see them at all. Why are we even risking it? Which is, look, I mean, a typical response. And no, nobody wants injuries, but I mean, I agree with Underhill and y'all where he had the great response of, these guys need to get out there. Like, it's not the same as practice. Like, you need to be in a full uniform, go in the stadium, play against live fire. Like, they need that in order to be what you want them to be come week 1. It has to happen. But yeah, so honestly, I like going to these preseason games. It's stress free. You're in the dome. You get cheap tickets for some decent seats.
I hate going to them. I like watching them on TV.
I I low key like, I low key love it. I mean, it doesn't compare to a real game. That's the thing. If you go there thinking about a real game, then you've already lost. I go there as like stress free, get a little look, see the guys with your own eyes for the first time in a long time, with all the frills of a game, but you don't have to worry about who wins and loses. To me, it's great. But
good. Next year you can buy my tickets from me.
I'll make you sweat. I'll go buy cheaper ones. But anyway, yeah. So I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode. We think we hit some good points. Unexpectedly long O-line conversation, thanks to me, I guess, on that one. But we'll come at you next week. We'll talk about what we saw in the Chiefs game. Maybe we'll have some more fun topics for you down the line here as off-season continues and training camp progresses. But until then, thank you for listening to another episode of the 28-3 podcast.
What a comeback!